Now, 1:30, we'll go ahead and begin the meeting of the Rusk Countywide Equalization School Board. Begin the service, would I ask Dwayne Knight, would you lead the invocation?
Let us pray. Father, thank you for the opportunity of coming before your throne of grace. We pray, Father, grace would be extended. Bless the deliberations. May peace and harmony prevail. We pray this in your name. Amen.
First item on the agenda is to discuss and possibly approve the board minutes of August 20th meeting in 2020. I have a copy of those minutes.
Mr. Whitehead, I think the first part is going to be of the public hearing to discuss tax rate.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, we'll begin the public hearing to discuss the tax rate. Anyone wants to speak?
I'll be happy to start off. For the record, my name is Dale Hedrick. I live in Precinct 1. I'm in the south part of Kilgore. As you gentlemen know, I've been down before you. This is my third year in a row. And I'm asking you to consider setting a zero tax rate. I know at your last meeting, you discussed lowering it to a little below 1.5 cents, which is commendable. However, it still is not fair to those taxpayers of Rusk County who live in districts that cross the county lines. I would love to ask each one of you individually if you even know the schools, districts that you, the precinct that you represent that cross the county lines. Are any of you aware? Those districts are Carlisle, Tatum, Cushing, Garrison, Kilgore, and Rusk, not West Rusk, Rusk Independent School District, which is in Cherokee County. This tax over the years has, in my opinion, served its purpose. It's outdated, outmoded. What it has become over the last many years is a subsidy to the school districts in this county. If this 1.5 cents or a little less is so important to the school's functioning, then let the school district raise their tax rate 1.5 cents. Now, I think if you crunch the numbers, you'll find out that Henderson, which most of you are from, would probably wind up getting more because you're sending out money that you're collecting. Kilgore is getting more than what it generates. However, if they did away with that cent and a half or a little less, and they needed it and they raised it a cent and a half, then those people over in the Gray County side of our district would be putting into this little deal too. Same with these taxpayers down in Reclaw. I think that's your precinct, Steve. Those people down there are paying this school tax, and that money's going over there to Cherokee County. And there's not a soul over there in Rusk Independent School District that's paying this levy. I don't know, but I think, Mr. Freeman, I think Garrison is probably down in your area, and Cushing. Part of those school districts come up into this county. And those taxpayers pay this tax. Those taxpayers on the other side, they don't pay it. So this has become a subsidy. And I would ask that you consider setting it at a zero tax rate. But I want to say also, I commend you for lowering it from last year. That's a step forward at least. But in regards to all that, at your last meeting, this board was asked and sent out letters to our state representative and our senator, as well as all the superintendents that are involved in Rusk County. And I think for transparency to the taxpayers, if y'all have gotten any kind of response from any of these people, it should be forthcoming. I don't know if y'all had any response, Judge, or not.
Yes, we have. I think they've all got a copy.
Is this something that you can read for the record, or because I think most of us here don't know what kind of responses that were coming. And let me close right quick.
Okay. You've already sent a notice to the superintendents and sort of given them notice that this tax could be phased out, and they may be getting half of what they got this past year. But I will assure you that the residents of Rusk County in the school district that I live in, Kilgore, just a few weeks ago, y'all sent Kilgore ISD over $157,000 extra that they get. I have been unable in all my years of trying to educate the taxpayers and this board over the last 3 years. It has been hard for me to find out how each one of these school districts figure and calculate this tax rate into their funding formula that they provide to the state. I think this is way over my head. I think it's way over your head. Matter of fact, I've been to Austin, and I think it's way over a bunch of their heads. I don't think anybody knows what to do here. But I do want to go on the record to say that I would appreciate if you would consider setting a zero tax rate, letting each one of these schools stand on their own. And if Anderson has to raise their tax rate this amount, they would be keeping more than what they're getting right now. I think if you crunch the numbers, you'll find that out. Thank you. So we read that. Mark's gonna read that for all of
This.
Thank you.
This is from Cushing Independent School District. It says, Judge Hale, hello, do hope all is well. I'm writing with 2 pieces of information. Number 1, thanks for the ADA monies. First, I want to say that we appreciate the ADA monies that Rusk County spends each year for our Rusk County students. It is my understanding that there has been some discussion regarding the use of those monies over the past couple of years. The questions regarding the ADA money is warranted. If Rusk County sends us money, you have the right to inquire about it. That said, starting this school year, in May, we will send you an email stating exactly what we did with the monies so that there is no question. Below, I will outline what we do with the monies currently, and you can let me know if you prefer us to use the money a different way. Once we receive the ADA monies, we place the entirety of the money into Cushing ISD endowment, where we only use the money for post-secondary education of our Rusk County students. Nacogdoches students are not eligible to receive the Rusk County ADA monies. Cushing ISD does not always have a Rusk County graduate every year, but we have several Rusk County students that reside in our district, and we have several transfer students that reside in other districts within Rusk County, such as Laneville or Mount Enterprise. During the years we do not have a Rusk County graduate, the money remains in the Cushing ISD endowment and generates interest. That interest is later distributed to Rusk County graduates of Cushing ISD. That said, the money you send each year and or any interest generated by the money is only used for Rusk County graduates for post-secondary education. In the future, I will email you in early May detailing exactly who received the Rusk County ADA scholarship, if any, and I will give a release to the Henderson paper if you so choose. If you do not hear from me, please call me at 936-326-4890 extension 221 or email me at mdavis@cushingisd.org. Conclusion. We believe that our Rusk County students will benefit from the Rusk County ADA monies through a scholarship. We also believe that the monies used in that fashion will be easily tracked so that we can tell you how we spent the money. However, if you prefer us to use the money a different way, please let us know. As always, Judge Hale, you've been a help to our district in many ways. Regardless of whether the ADA monies continue in the future, I want you to know that we appreciate you and all your staff have done for us. Both you and your office staff have been beyond helpful, kind, and courageous. Thanks, Martha Lee, Director of Finance, Cushing ISD. This next one is from Teresa Shelton at Laneville ISD. It says, Judge Hale, Laneville ISD deposits this check into our general operating fund in order to help several school-wide areas. That money is extremely important to us because it simply raises the amount of money in our operating fund. This money serves as a supplement in many areas, such as paying for tutoring, summer school, instructional materials, supplies, teacher salaries, etc. We do not have one specific fund that we designate the money for, but we use it where it is needed. This definitely serves as a supplement to raise our general operating fund. Some people may think it isn't a significant amount of money, but for Laneville ISD, it proves to be beneficial for all students. Respectfully submitted, Teresa Shelton, Laneville ISD Superintendent. This one is from Michael Payne at Carlisle ISD. It says, Joel, I am unable to attend this meeting due to being isolated due to COVID. Would you please share my thoughts with the board? These funds are important to Carlisle as they enhance the education program for all of our students, regardless of the county of residence. I do not feel it reasonable to place a restriction on the use of these funds based solely on whether or not a child resides in the county. It is my understanding that the tax was created to aid the districts within Rusk County who did not have as much mineral values as some of the others. It is also my understanding that this tax was intended to assist all the students attending Rusk County schools. My concern is how to implement this restriction so that only students residing in Rusk County receive the benefit. Not only would this be difficult or almost impossible to put in place, I believe this to be in opposition to the reason the tax was created. I recognize the desire to lower everyone's tax burden, but I fear the reduction or elimination of this tax will negatively affect the education process of all the schools in Rusk County. Respectfully, Mike Payne, Superintendent, Carlisle ISD. And this last email is from Mike Jimerson, who's the Rusk County District Attorney, to James, and it's sent to James Odom at the State Senate office. Mr. Odom, I have previously clarified my position with Judge Hale, but permit me to explain. I am a county attorney under the Texas Constitution. However, under the Code of Criminal Procedure, I serve as a district attorney for the 4th Judicial District. The latter imposes me greater duty because I have never had to represent the county, and even if I choose to so do it, is at the pleasure of the Commissioner's Court. Whereas I am permitted to represent the state of Texas in a number of prosecution matters, some of which are concurrent with the Attorney General, such as open records, some are exclusive to this office. Additionally, the Countywide School Board, as best as I can determine, is not the county but a separate political subdivision created by the legislature and approved by the citizens of a county. I attach hereto the opinion from Attorney General Paxton. I requested the same after a citizen, Mr. Dale Hedrick, requested me to do so. Of course, General Paxton is not law. However, he essentially upheld such entity as the tax under circumstances. I was concerned a court would rule violated state and federal constitutional law. I also attached the latest media article. Several years ago, there was an article written from the superintendent's viewpoints explaining how they needed the revenue. I made Mr. Hedrick aware that I do not represent him, although I will review his complaints for violation of state law pursuant to my duty. I can't give him legal advice, but I do believe that he realizes the entity must be repealed by some enactment of the legislature with or without a county vote. He also appears to be running for the said board on a platform of abating the tax, perhaps another way of reaching the same point. Such is not for me to determine. I do not address policy, only whether it is a violation of statute and a remedy I am duty bound to seek. I also have had discussion with Judge Hale because to a certain extent, we have the same common goal to encourage that all county entities be compliant with all state law, such as open meeting records and so forth. As long as there is no intentional wrongdoing, I, like or other prosecutors, try to encourage compliance through education, not incarceration when present. Perhaps this will give you a starting point. At one time, I am certain Dale's told me that he had a legislative fix that I understood him to imply Clardy, that would be Representative Clardy, and Senator Hughes were carrying. So let me make clear again, I am county attorney, but I do not represent county nor the Countywide School Board in this matter. Good luck to you, sir. Michael E. Jimerson, County and District Attorney.
That's all the communication I have.
I recognize some superintendents here. If they'd like to come up and give us their opinion, they're free to do that.
Good afternoon, County Board. I am Byron Jordan, Superintendent at Mount Enterprise ISD, and very south part of the county. I've been superintendent at Mount Enterprise since January of 2012, so I'm about to be there for 9 years coming January. But when I first got there, we had some financial problems. And when this county equalization fund came in, that basically took us from red to black. We're not at near to that extent now, but I will tell this board and that, well, first of all, I appreciate all you guys and appreciate our county taxpayers very much. But also these are money, especially for small schools, that really help us out a lot. What I use for it, and I don't mind if the board and the taxpayers want us to give a list as to what we spend that money on. For Mount Enterprise, it was about $35,000 this year. But we use that money for janitorial, building upkeep, maintenance, and on those types of things. I don't put it on salaries because I don't know how much is coming in or if it's going to be stopped, and I don't want that to be something that I have to grab money from somewhere else. But we use it for everything but salaries for our buildings and for our kids. So, I just wanted to say thank y'all and thank you for this. Is a tough decision to make, and I realize that our funds may be cut in half this next year, but half is better than none, and we will certainly appreciate anything that our county taxpayers in this board will allow us to have. Thank you.
I'm J.P. Richardson, Superintendent Tatum ISD.
Tatum ISD is one of the districts that probably receives a large portion. We've received around $140,000 this year. It does go into our general fund, and I'm in the same boat as all the other superintendents. We have no issues whatsoever showing where and when and how we spend that money. But we're all fixing to face a budget crunch coming up. Back in 2010, we'll all recall what happened in the legislative session. And so we're going to do everything in our power to, not have cuts, and knowing that this particular, $140,000 to us, not that we put it on teachers or anything, but that's 2.5 teachers that we would lose right off the bat like that. And I would just ask you to reconsider and continue at the pace that you've been doing, because it's great for Rusk County kids and Rusk County school districts. And again, we're fixing to face something that we've never faced before, but if it's anything like 2010, we're going to need all the help we can get. And what more help could you give than educating kids? And taking that money away is you're taking it out from educating kids the way I see it. So again, I appreciate you. I know you got a tough decision to make, but I just wanted you to know where we stand. And we're not wealthy anymore. A lot of people like to say Tatum sends money back to the state. We don't send money back to the state anymore. The plant the value is not where it is anymore. So we're just like a regular school district. We're not property rich anymore. And so we're going through that right now. So again, I appreciate you.
Good afternoon. I'm Lawrence Coleman, Superintendent for West Rusk Schools. Have been the last 4 years. First year into superintendency. I know that money came in just in time in the summer. We had would have had to borrow money to finish out the year before we could get our settle up from the state in September if we had not had that money. This year we got a little over 100,000. We do make sure that money goes toward the basic things in the math and science departments with our equipment, with our supplies, but it's just in our general fund. It does make it help make ends meet with not knowing what the state's going to do from year to year, and especially right now with all the COVID things going on and the cuts we've made this past year. We've had to really look hard at any position that has quit, retired, moved, whatever, to save all that we can through attrition. And it just takes it all, and for that to take a hit, for it not to be there, or part of it not to be there for the upcoming school year, just like Dr. Richardson said, that'd be a teacher and a half right there. I mean, you'd lose them right off the bat. But it has, as an educator going into my 30th year, we keep hearing it's going to get better from the state, and it doesn't always do that. But just knowing that our local county supports us the way that y'all do, it really means a lot to us. Thank y'all.
Hello, I'm Teresa Shelton from Langeville ISD. I did send in my letter. Unless I'm completely mistaken, we just can't raise the tax rate to 1.5 cents. The state tells us now what our tax rate is. We may only receive anywhere from 10 to 17,000 from the court, but that makes a huge difference at Langeville. That means replacing 2 or 3 AC units that we weren't able to replace before. So I would ask that you reconsider this, and half is better than none, but the full amount that we've been getting would sure help a small school district as ourselves, whose parents choose to send their kids to us for that one-on-one specialty help that they may get lost in other larger school districts. So they attend Langeville simply so they can get instruction in a smaller group setting that really they don't fall behind. So we would appreciate you considering or reconsidering and allowing us to still receive this money to use at our discretion. Again, I have no problems at all sending an itemized list out to you each year that tells you how we spent that money. So it is much appreciated. Thank you.
Can I follow up? I understand you superintendents that live within the county. Tatum, wherever Tatum is. Do you think it's fair for part of your Rusk County taxpayers to pay a extra tax
that those that live across the county line don't pay. That's the situation we have in Kilgore, Tatum, Garrison, Cushing, Rusk, in Cherokee County, Carlisle. Now, you have to have a history lesson here. This was established back when the oil field and you had county schools. You don't have county schools anymore. Those little schools have been swallowed up and they're part of an independent school district. And I think it's 6 that you had that cross county lines. That's been my argument all these years. This has turned out to be a subsidy to all of you. I'm not against educating. I'm not against funding schools. But this right here is it's the legislature, as I understand, it's the legislature's responsibility to equalize and make funding equal across the states and for the schools. It's not this board. This is an outdated thing. If I challenge you, if you crunch your numbers at Tatum and you raise, not just say a cent, but you raise your whole district a cent, including those that live across the county line, you'll raise more money. You'll get more money. Instead of 1 teacher, you might get 2 or 3. Who knows? I know the Gray County side of Kilgore has never paid this and never been levied this tax. Cushing, they never have levied over there. We're sending taxpayers' money out of the county. For you superintendents that your district's entirely within the county, you're spending that money for Rusk County kids. That's not the case in these districts I'm telling you about, including Tatum. So you got to understand the history behind this. And if you don't understand the history behind it, then you think that everything is unfair because you're not thinking of the children. Well, I'm thinking of the children. I've been paying all my school taxes to Kilgore all these years. And back when the oil field was here, in Kilgore, and Leverage Chapel, and Overton, and Carlisle were rich, it helped these over here. It helped Henderson because they weren't in the oil field back in the 30s and 40s and 50s. But they got a bunch of money from it. Now, the roles have reversed. Yes, I've had Travis Clardy involved with this. He's got me further than anybody in the state. I've testified in Austin. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, people don't understand this tax. And there is not an educator one in the state of Texas that's going to turn down free money. Not a one. But if you want things to be equitable in the county, then you'll understand more where I'm coming from. I hope you do. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to meet with you and go through my files with you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's taken me over 30 years to get this far right here. This isn't just the last couple of years on my part. So if any of you have any questions, don't hesitate. I'll give you my number. I'll come to your school and meet with you. We can crunch numbers together. But this board was set up when every school was in the county. And since the mid to late 40s, it's changed. So ever since those little county schools were done away with and consolidated with a nearby district, and if that district crosses a county line, like into Gray County, or Panola County, or Cherokee, then we're subsidizing the other part of the district that's not doing that. So for those of you superintendents that are entirely within Rusk County, you're dealing with the funds are being used entirely for Rusk County students. That's not the case in this whole county. Be happy to visit with any of you when this is over with. I still hold, I appreciate that y'all going down to less than 1.5 cents. I mean, I commend you for it. But I want to go on the record as I think it can go to 0. And I think you have that power to do it. And if these schools need that money, then they can go up and crunch their numbers and go up 1 cent or whatever they can to recoup the money, or they can go to Mr. Clardy, or they can go down and testify in Austin and see about what else we can do to get money for our students. But I want to go on record to say, I'm not against education, but I'm for fair funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edry.
My name is Dana Pierce. I'm also a resident of Kilgore. A year ago, I was told that since you guys have no presence on the internet, you're not included in the Rusk County budget, because I went over that last year. And again, this year, you're not mentioned. You are a shadow government group with no accountability. Every so often you'll post a notice in the newspaper and declare a meeting and decide to come up with a new tax rate. No mission statement. How did you guys all hear about this? Somebody sent you a letter saying you weren't going to get money. You don't know anything about the group?
I do.
You do? How long have you lived here? I've been here 4 years. I could not find information from a public source.
Since 1982. I've known it since then.
Okay. I found it on my tax statement because I'm a property owner. A year ago, I was told this and make a presence not on the internet. That word was not kept. So I again would like to see some accountability from you gentlemen as to who you are and what your stated mission is. Because so far you haven't kept your word. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, I'd like to make a statement if I may. I think it's interesting to me that we've had some superintendents come here, and this is the first time since I've been associated with the board that superintendents have bothered to come. Thank you for coming. I would like to ask a question of 2 of the superintendents, the one from Tatum and the one from Blainville. Are you as a group, are you as a taxpayer of the area aware that both Tatum and Laneville are a net giver? Y'all get less money back to your schools than what your school districts has paid into the fund. Are y'all aware of that? So in effect, what it tells me is that your taxpayers are paying a countywide school tax that's being used in the county that to a certain degree is taking away from your students or taking away from your tax. In other words, your taxpayers are paying more money into the countywide school district than your students are getting benefit from. Y'all are net givers. Biggest net givers, according to my calculations, are Tatum, Henderson, and Laneville. So that's something you might broach with your board.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll proceed our meeting. First item is discuss and possibly approve the board minutes of the August 20th, 2020 meeting. I have a copy of them there.
I move we approve them.
Got a motion to approve, is there a second?
I second.
Got a motion and second, we approve them, those in favor, hold your hand. And they are approved. Next item is discuss and possibly approve the 2020-2021 budget. It's there in your folder. Got office expense $500, per diem travel $500, and miscellaneous $1,000. The total budget's $2,000.
Judge Hale, may I ask a question? It's my understanding that if this money is not used within the appropriate fiscal year, you put it back into the fund for distribution.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Judge, how much was used last year out of the 2,000 budget?
$434.
How much?
$434.
$434?
200 of the per diem travel. Well, the travel was $240. Mr. Carter gave his check back, so they dropped it down to $200 for the travel. And the miscellaneous was for the ad that runs in the paper, and it was $234 for the ad. So $434 was used out of the budget.
That's pretty common over the last few years, roughly.
Since I've been doing it.
Any other questions?
Since I've been doing this for 3 years.
Anyone else? Okay, do I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second. Got a motion and second to approve it, show of hands. Those opposed? That is approved. Next item is number 3, is discuss for approval the adoption of a rate of lower than the no new revenue rate of 1.0013218 per $100 valuation of the 2021 equalization tax. Do you have any discussion? I think we pretty well beat this to death on the last meeting.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move we set a zero tax rate.
Is there a second?
You know, I got a problem. I can understand taxpayers not wanting to pay for students in Donovan County, but then I can also understand the schools needing some money. So I'm here and there. I think there's a solution to this, but I don't know. I would like the taxpayers to feel right that their tax money is going where it's supposed to go. But then I would also like to support the schools as much as we can. These times are tough. Of course, I know they're tough for individuals too. And there's got to be a happy medium, I think, somewhere. You know, whether Kilgore, Tatum, if they can come up with a plan to show us where that money is spent, would the taxpayers agree to that? Or are we just trying to eliminate the tax altogether? I don't know. There's one letter in here that says one of the school superintendents said he'd work with us anyway. He could. Someone says that for state and federal funds, they do have to designate where it is. If they do designate for state and local funds, not federal funds, why not this fund? Can it, in my opinion, it can be worked out. We've got educators in this class that are in this courtroom right now that ought to have enough information to be able to come up with an answer to our question. I don't want to eliminate these taxes to students that need it or to a school district that needs it. But I sure hate for people to pay taxes not what it's supposed to go for. And I personally just can't figure it out myself. Someone smarter than me I think, can come up with an answer to this. How we can administer taxpayers' money properly. Did it go to the right place? But I don't know, folks. Do we need more discussion on it? You know, we need. Can we talk to them?
Can I say, I'm glad to see some superintendents here. For you superintendents that get this money, how is this tax rate calculated into your state funding formula? Because I've been in touch with Austin. They won't let me give me any information because I'm not a member of TASB. And I can't get any information from any. Is there a way that y'all calculate this into your state funding formulas? Can any of you superintendents answer that to me?
No, I don't think it's calculated in there.
It's not calculated in there.
No.
That's exactly the point I've been making for years. That's what makes this a subsidy.
But I will say this, I'll piggyback on what Michelle said. You know, we don't have the luxury of going up a penny next year or 2 pennies. We don't have that luxury anymore. The state's taken that, they've compressed our tax rate. The only way we can do that is if we go out for a TRE. And I don't know how many superintendents here have had a TRE. They're maxed out. They can't go up any higher.
Well, to have that election now too, you have to go through a lot of different paperwork, election, all kind of different audits, which, you know, we go through regular audits
Yep.
anyway, but to even raise it,
Mhm.
it's a TRE election.
Yep. And that has to be
So-
voted on by the public.
Voted by the taxpayers of your district.
That's correct.
Right.
That is
Right,
correct.
right.
And everything, but somebody might be already at the max, they've already done that. They couldn't do it if they wanted to make up this amount.
How many schools are at max in Rusk County?
I'm in fact,
And
we
you're what,
can't go any higher.
what school are you?
Not everybody.
Mount Enterprise. You're entirely within Rusk County too, I believe. You don't go into Nacogdoches. You're at the max.
West Rusk.
You're entirely within the county and y'all are maxed out. Yeah, Overton, best of my memory, didn't they go through some kind of special election here a few years ago
That a
To-
bond
to-
election.
to face some of this stuff that y'all are talking about?
And I'll tell you, Laneville, I've tried to run a bond twice, since we all know Laneville's facilities need to be updated. I've tried to run a bond twice. It was voted down. So for me to try to do a TRE election to raise taxes, it's not gonna happen. And like I said, for me, $15,000 may not sound like a lot of money to other school districts, but for us, it's a lot and it helps.
And
a lot.
you're
I'm Laneville.
Laneville.
Yes, sir,
Did you hear what Mr. Carter said?
I did.
Y'all are getting back less than what that money generates in Laneville ISD. Same with y'all. Tell you.
You give them money back.
But
Yeah,
it's not
no,
given-
you don't get
But they
money back.
can't get it. They can't get that money either.
How many of you have met with Mr. Clardy or Brian Hughes or Kevin Ellis? Kevin Ellis, y'all are familiar with him, man? He was with the State Board of Education. Now, he was on a committee that I testified to in Austin a couple of years ago. And when I got through testifying, he came up to me and his eyes were that big around. He said, you're in my district. I don't know what in the devil you're talking about. So was most of that committee down there. Let me ask all of you superintendents, do y'all know how many counties in the state of Texas have this tax? Can any of you name one other?
We got
Yeah,
about
I got it. There's 5 of them.
There's just a handful.
I'm just gonna say, I'm worried about our kids, regardless, I'm sorry, not to be rude, but regardless of the state, I worry about our kids that we have in Rusk County, because we have kids from different towns that transfer out to us, so I'm worried about providing our kids the
I
best education
certainly
possible.
understand your predicament. But as a taxpayer, I'm worried about continually subsidizing students whose parents are taxpayers in another county living this fund.
Well, has the question been to And no disrespect to any of the other superintendents, I'm not meaning this bad at all. But instead of eliminating this tax completely, using it for the schools in Rusk County, instead of eliminating the tax completely.
The money sent to the school districts.
Right,
The school
but
districts use it.
And it's based off our Rusk County students that are in 2 counties.
You can, the ones from cross borders,
Yeah.
eliminate them and just let it use the.
So you superintendents that have school districts in Countywide County,
yes,
y'all don't understand what I've been going through for 35 years. You don't have a clue,
Well-
because y'all don't cross county lines.
And I guess, going back to the net, I guess if I understood that right, what you're trying to say is if I get $50, I'm only really get 25 back? Is that kind of the way?
That's kind of the way it
Yeah.
works. It's not quite apples and oranges like that, but as your district, the citizens of your district pay more money into the fund than your school gets back. So, yeah, with your analogy, I'm paying $50, I'm gonna get $25 back. I mean, that's as good an analogy as you can get.
Well, I'm trying to tell it.
I'm not,
Dumb it down a little bit.
we as a board have an issue that we've been roughshod over for the past 3 years that I'm aware of. In 1937, they passed the law here that says the purpose of this equalization is for school facilities and opportunities for students for Rusk County. In 1937, when you had a little one-room schoolhouse on every corner, made a whole lot of sense because you had schools like Gaston and New London, not questioning, but you had facilities that were just, Leverage Chapel was a classic example. I heard a story of this one about one time. Somebody from the federal government down here said, we're going to give you money if you'll do this. Superintendent said, I don't want it. Says, it's money. You can't turn it down. I said, I don't need it. Don't want it. Don't want headaches. So the guy from the federal government says, why? He says, turn around and look out that window. That pup Jack was just doing this. I don't need your money. So we have to go back and look at some historical context here. We've had, as Mr. Hedrick has so aptly pointed out, a bunch of consolidation, a tremendous amount of consolidation. And you had some school districts that had plenty when the oil boom was going fine, when the power plants and the coal mines were going fine, the whole 9 yards. I mean, how many of you know where Gaston is? Lawrence, I know you do. Gaston, bless their pea-picking little heart, consolidated with New London. And I had an opportunity to go out there to Gaston several times, as a matter of fact. And I went walking through that school district. I went into the theater and they had a fly system in there. Fly systems are unheard of. Those are where they've got all the ropes and the cords that they can raise stuff up and lower it down and this and that and the other. Something that you hardly ever find in any type of school auditorium. It was just amazing. And so now we're faced with this dilemma. I've got Rusk County schools, or I've got Rusk County students, I'm getting money from the state or from the county equalization board. And lo and behold, when somebody asks a question, where's it going to? Most of what we got back in our early information is it goes into the general fund. Great. And who controls the general fund? The school board. To all intents and purposes, it's the school board. And we're going to make a slight analogy here, right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm going to do it. Somebody comes along and says, I want one of those brand new Sony Trinitron scoreboards. And he convinces the board to do it. Great. We do it. But was that for the benefit of the kids? Probably not. So what we're trying to do here is what is equitable and fair and legal. Because we're mandated by a law that was written, facilities and opportunities. I realize that that's a wide open dilemma, but how can that be resolved? I know, speaking out of turn here, that I know that when I was affiliated with Tatum, we had students from Harrison County, Panola County, Gregg County, as well as Rusk County. I assume that hasn't changed. So we go there and all of a sudden we're dispensing money that supposedly is for Rusk County students. But if you put it all out in the pile here and go, here's for a Rusk County student, here's for a Rusk County student, here's for a Rusk County. Oh, what am I going to do with this kid from Panola County? Well, geez, what can I do? Well, it's in the general fund, so we're just going to say it goes to everybody. Was that the intent and purpose of the law when it was originally dictated? I don't think so. So there again, everybody's walking a fine line here. Some of us probably more vocal than others about, is it going to the students and what's it used for? So I hope you understand my concerns on this.
And I think you've heard from us.
I've heard from you. Hey, I've been in your shoes.
Yeah.
I have sat in your seat.
Yeah.
I mean, I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning one morning to go pick up a $2,000 check from a Walmart that was brand new opening when I was sitting in your seats. Why? Because it was money I could use for my school. Been there, done that, got that t-shirt. So I know where you're coming from. But I also have to be very concerned about what are the legalities that we're facing here. And it amazes me, if you take this information and you start calculating this, and how disadvantaged specific districts are because their taxable value is so much greater than another one, that they wind up giving more money out than they take in. And I know the state is notorious for screwing with how we tax and how we do this and how we do that. And once you got a handle on the way you're going to do it one way, here comes 2 years down the road and they change it and you're back to square one. Been there, done that, had to throw the pieces of paper away and start over again. So I understand where you're coming from, but I certainly hope as a group you understand where I am coming from as well.
I want to close with one suggestion. All of you superintendents that are here, why don't you as a group give with Travis Clardy and Brian Hughes, that's who our representatives are, and give your concerns to them, just like I've been down there and given my concerns, and seeing if there's some way the state can look this situation over. Because ladies and gentlemen, this is a dinosaur. There's just a handful in the state of Texas. And as far as the information that I found out personally over the years, this is the only county in the state of Texas that has school districts across the county lines. That's the reason when you go to Austin and mention this, or call somebody up down there and mention countywide school board and tax, and they say, what in the world are you talking about? Even you educators, check with the TEA. Find out, check with Mr., is it Morath? Why don't you get Mr. Morath involved and give him your predicament here and see if there's some relief. But to continue to penalize Rusk County taxpayers because your district crosses the county line and the other half of the district doesn't pay a dime, to me, that's wrong, morally wrong. Like I say, I am not against educating children. My wife's a retired school teacher. My daughter's a school teacher. I'm not against teachers. I'm not against students. But I am for fair taxing across the board.
Above the board.
I'm talking about equal across the county lines. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll visit with any of you any day. I'll come down to your school, visit with you. I'll meet with your board. I'm retired now. I got the time to do it. So if you want me to, I'll be happy to visit with you. Give you a history lesson for sure. That I don't think any of you really know the background to. Thank you, gentlemen.
Gentlemen, my name is David Hedrick. You can tell I'm his brother. I served on the school board, and I really want to speak to the superintendents here to kind of give you a little analogy of what I sat through down there at Kilgore. At the time, this example I'm using, our tax rate for the district itself was $1.30. It was 3 cents for the Rusk County. So those of us that lived on the Rusk County side of Kilgore ISD, we were in essence paying $1.33. The $1.30 plus the 3 cents. And all this came up, there wasn't nothing fair about that. So I asked the finance manager, okay, here's what we got to do. What would we have as our tax rate in order to equal out and get this amount of money that we're getting handed to us from Rusk County? Well, we'd have to raise our tax rate $0.015 to generate, for the whole, everybody in the entire KISD. I said, okay. So right now, those of you that live over in Gregg County portion, you're paying $1.30. And to make it even, we'd have to raise it countywide $0.015. So that means you would go from $1.30 to $1.31.5. I'm in Rusk County over here. I'm paying $1.33 now. So if we did away with this 3 cents, I'm gonna go back to $1.30. We're gonna raise it to $0.015. Guess what? And I told one of the board members, I said, we'd be paying the exact same tax rate. You'd be paying $1.31.5, and I would be paying $1.31.5. And that's fair. And then the answer that I got was, we appreciate all you Rusk County people helping us out over here. You do these big move over in Gregg County. That wasn't the response that I was looking for. But I hope this little analogy will explain the inequity of the districts in Rusk County that do cross county lines into another district. Thank you.
I had some experience in this when I was working back in the 70s. I was tax manager for a major corporation in Texas. And I came to our county judge, which is an attorney, and asked him about this. And he told me it was legal. So I talked to the superintendents, which some of them are good friends in old time, one of them is still in my enterprise and label, the small school districts, and he said, we need that money, it'll ruin us. So I went back to my company and they said, pay it. I mean, we got to be good citizens. So that happened in 1976. Did I check this out? And we thought it was a good deal. In those days, I don't know what the tax rates calculated now, but operation maintenance was $1.50. And these country schools were at $1.50. They couldn't go up. They couldn't vote a line, they couldn't raise money. So they bailed out a good many over the years. So I just thought I'd tell you, this is not something new to me either. I checked it out in 1976 when I was property tax manager for this company.
I don't know what the tax rates are for schools, what the maximum tax rate is. But the way I understand it, if you're maxed out, this money here, since you don't report it to any kind of funding formula, this is a way to circumvent the funding formula. That's the way I see it in layman terms. Again, I appreciate you guys being here, because I've been here for 3 years and I haven't seen a one of you here. The last meeting in August, for the record, there was a resolution read, and it was from 1998 from Kilgore ISD. You can go back and look and hear it read on the computer from the last meeting on August 20th, I think. But I would encourage you as a group, I'll go with you. You want to sit down at Travis Clardy's office or Brian Hughes, if he'll answer the telephone, and meet with him. I'll drive to Austin on my own nickel with you. I've done it. All I'm asking is, I'm not against education, funding. I'm not against teachers. I'm not against students, but I am for fair and equal taxing. And it's not that way in Rusk County with this tax. I'm gonna quit for a while.
I'm confused. I pay a tax. I pay a property tax, but as school districts, you don't report this as a tax that you receive?
Not in our formula for our summary of findings. No. We just put our school district tax rate in there.
So you don't
This
report
is
all
our-
of my taxes into your school district?
This is another tax from another taxing entity.
Yeah, we're not taxing. Districts are not
Your
taxing.
M&O and your your maintenance and the same thing. Those that together is your
That's all.
total rate tax.
Right. This is
This tax here is, like I said last month, GRAVY. It's gravy to all the school districts. Because they don't
Well,
have
I'm
to.
just,
they don't
I'm just
have to.
looking at the way you're coding it. This is not this is not revenue from taxes that you are counting this as.
It doesn't go in our formula, is what I mean. This tax is collected, y'all are setting the tax rate. It's whatever
It's
you
paid
set the
through the
tax.
county tax assessment.
That is correct.
Yeah.
But
It's a
they
tax.
set the tax rate. We set the tax rate in the school district.
The state bill.
We don't use your tax, your 2 cents or 1 point, what you're proposing. We can't use that. That's on y'all.
Well, this sounds like something that the schools need to go to the legislature and get straightened out. Because you're receiving taxes from me, but you're not accounting for them as taxes.
It's circumventing. It's circumventing the formula. To me.
Anyone else? Okay, with that, item number 3 is discuss for approval adoption of a rate lower than no new property revenue rate of 0.013218 per $100 valuations as a tax or the valuation of the 2021 equalization tax. So I hear a motion to approve that. Item 3.
So moved.
Got a motion, and a second?
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor, show of hands. Those opposed? Okay. Now, the next item is discuss for approval adoption of the order to set that tax rate, the 2021 equalization tax rate. So we've already discussed it, and we're ready to approve it now. I hear a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a motion and second. Any discussion?
Can I say this?
Yes.
I agree with this. And I give Superintendent superintendent and everybody here. But let's come up with an answer. Let's come up with an answer that helps the taxpayers too, you know? The superintendents might need to get together and give us some information here, how y'all can justify this money and how to use it. So rather than just strictly eliminate it this year, we're gonna cut it in half, and then maybe if we can come up with the right answers, you know, work with it. But, it's been enacted for years and years and years, so I just need more information. Okay. You know, and if the school superintendents can get together, you know, and come up with a formula, how are you gonna prove to me that that tax money is used for Rusk County students? Then I can back it. You know, but for me, I just don't wanna cut it off right now. I wanna give y'all the opportunity, and that's one reason I thought we lowered it, so we could get the information back from you, which y'all did. I appreciate y'all coming. I need that information before I can make a decision. So to me, for my information that's in y'all's court. Let me know how you're using this money to assist the students in Rusk County that I can go back and talk with Dale to, that he'll understand that tax money needs to be used to spend. Even though we're in different districts, I can't, you know, I got to understand both sides. That's where I stand, guys.
Dale, I think you make a valid point for what you're talking about. At the same time, Rusk County and Kilgore ISD, I'm like Steve, if there's some way that it could be shown where Kilgore's ISD students that are in Rusk County get the benefit of these funds, would you still feel the same way?
I'm not so sure right now because there's not just Kilgore involved here.
I know,
sir.
but Kilgore is the big deal right now. Kilgore, Tatum, and I know Man Enterprise has a sprinkling of students that are not in Rusk County. Cushing has a sprinkling of students that is in Rusk County. Garrison has a sprinkling of students that is in Rusk County. But schools like Man Enterprise, Carlisle has, they're probably split because they have Cherokee County. But if they can come up with a way to show where the money, and I know this is going to be difficult, where the money is going to go strictly for Rusk County students, do you still feel the same way?
No, sir. It's like I said, I am for equal taxation on the property owners. Let each district run themselves. That's where I stand.
Okay, well, like I said, you make a valid point. I have no problem with your point. From being in precinct 3 and being involved in schools at Man Enterprise, I know exactly what Byron's saying, and I know what the Langville superintendent is saying about how important this money is to these small schools. I hate to see it be done away with. If it comes out as a legislative thing, then fine. I don't care that only five state counties in the state have this tax. I don't care about that. That doesn't make any difference. What we're talking about is our people right now. And I personally, I can't see doing away with it at this point. But if there needs to be some way, if the superintendents can come together, as Stephen said, and come up with a valid way to show that this tax money is being spent for Rusk County students, then I'm fine with it.
That's fine. I appreciate your input. Steve, I appreciate your input more than any. But I will say this in closing, from my viewpoint. That this is an outdated tax. It is turned into a subsidy where schools can circumvent the funding formula. And I think, and I suggest that the superintendents get with their state legislative people to see if they can come up with a way that they can go beyond what their max is and utilize what this is and do away with this tax altogether. That gives them the leeway to do what they want, and they keep all the money that they generate. Thank you.
Okay, we need to vote on it. That's a motion to approve. All those in favor, show of hands. Those opposed. Okay, the next item is to elect a chairperson and a chairperson pro tem.
Make it most, you're stepping down, right, for sure?
Well, the way I see it, we got one more meeting. After that, the election. And I won't be here, Robert will be here, but we don't have a pro tem now. And my health is not that good, and you know my situation. So we need at least a pro tem, so whatever you decide, we've got one more meeting. We have to,
What's the other meeting for, Mr.
we
White?
have to canvass the votes and swear in the new members.
You're talking about November.
Isn't that right, Judge?
I don't know, y'all haven't had an election in years, I don't know how you do it. Y'all are,
I don't think we need everybody up here to canvass the vote.
y'all are self-appointed.
Well, then we
We
can.
can get, you can designate the canvass and the votes to Commissioner's Court.
But two of us are not gonna be here after that.
Yeah. That'd be fine. Doesn't that make sense?
It makes sense,
Commissioner's
except
Court,
the
the canvass
people
the
that are
vote.
here today.
That way y'all have to come back up here. And we don't have to pay that big stipend.
Yeah, I'm almost out of gasoline. So we need to go ahead and elect a new chairman and a pro tem now?
I think so.
Okay. I won't be here. I know.
Or you could pass on it now and wait till the next board meeting and let the new board do it.
Okay, let's just table it to that. Yeah,
I don't know what the legal.
I think it'll work.
okay. So we'll just table that one for the next meeting. Then we need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
A motion. Those in favor?